Greetings, everyone. This is the Hipster Snek, and today we are bringing to you another episode of the Tomodachi Bros podcast. Today with me is Master Ditaku.
I am a SS level. You're going to need a super ultra Ditaku ball in order to capture me.
Oh. And also is Master Clockwork.
I am an SSR ranked gotcha creature thing. You need at least $6,000 to buy me.
Oof. That's harsh. But not unrelated. And Cog wishes to extend a apology for his extended absence throughout this season. We will have him back soon as I can drag him back into the fray. Unfortunately, real life is oftentimes like that. That said, we're going to get into it, and we're going to talk about monster games. And obviously, if you've been with the channel long enough, you know that those are things that we like a lot. Monster games are life. Monster games are love. So, gentlemen, where should we begin?
I mean, the one I've been playing the most of right now is the current one that has the most controversy and everything around it. That slowly petered out into just being a very good game in general is Pal World.
I've been meaning to pick that up, and I haven't yet. I remember seeing the earliest trailers when they were first teasing it.
Funny enough, as I'm not a big proponent of survival games, the biggest thing I like in this game is that they seem to have realized that playing a survival game alone sucks. But if you add NPCs that actually do stuff and help you around your base so you don't have to do it yourself, makes it suck a lot less. But playing with friends is also the best way to still play the game, of course, if you have friends to play with.
All right, makes sense.
Just kind of go into it. Basically, is that the world you are in, or the islands you're in, are filled with these creatures called pals. You find what they call pal spheres around, and you can also craft them within your base. You weaken the pals via fighting with your pals, or engaging in physical or ranged combat with crossbows, guns, or spears, or whatever you got at the time. Lower their health to a low amount of health, to about 10% or so. Oh, and they are catchable. You can catch them when they're at higher HP, but of course your percentage of catching them diminishes.
Right.
The nice thing about this is that if a pal is at 100% catch rate, which you can actually see when you're about to throw your sphere at them, it doesn't play the little jiggle game, as I like to call it, where the ball will jiggle a little bit like in Pokemon.
Right.
And be like, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? Even though it's 100%, you're going to get it like on the first try, and it's not going to waste your time.
Oh, man, but we've been doing that for 28 years, and it's part of the game tradition, and we can't ever change things. Don't you wish it were 1997 again?
That is the biggest thing about it, is that everyone is claiming that this is some sort of Pokemon clone, which in essence, I would say no. It is more of a survival game with creatures that help you build your base, and you can battle with them, of course, if you want to. You can have your pals fight other pals in the world, which is a good extent of your damage, because I believe they will overpower you at one point or another of your perceived power.
Yeah, I mean, sheer force of numbers.
But the in damage scaling to higher level, I don't know. I haven't gotten to end game really yet on that end, so I don't know how much stronger you as a character can get versus other pals, because their level can get pretty high. Your level can get really high too, but your weapons and depending on what you build your stats into depends on what you're going to end up being at the end.
No, that checks out.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard things that Nintendo is, like, we're seeing what we can do in order to, for legal, action against them. It's like, what legal action can you take? Colorful monster. You do not own colorful monster creatures.
I would like to interrupt. I don't believe that was their intent with the email that I think you've seen. I believe their intent was we're going to investigate to see if there's actually something in here that might be infringing. But they haven't done anything yet. So I'm pretty darn sure that nothing is going to happen. I think people have been, quote unquote snitching on the game pretty much. Trying, because the Pokemon Defense Force needs to come out in full force to defend the multi-billion-dollar company that has 8 million lawyers at their disposal.
Gym Leader Ed put this like way better than I ever could. It's like people have been calling every single monster game a Pokemon clone, all the while ignoring how unoriginal Pokemon as a concept actually is. And like these people are now in this position where they're trying to argue so vehemently that no, it's not Pal World we want. We just want new and original monster ideas. And Ed is like, well, that's really interesting. Here is literally this enormous roster of games that I have covered on my channel. And he's just like, yeah, put your money where your mouth is and support things like Monster Sanctuary or Nexomon. And I'm really curious as to where we will see that discourse go. Just because it's really going to weed out the people who just want to complain on the internet from people who actually try to have a point. Now, I haven't played the game and I haven't seen enough to weigh in on it, but I do fear the Pal World discourse is going to open a very annoying and repetitive can of worms where literally every monster game released henceforth is going to just be the AI art plagiarisms. Because proving those sort of things is completely impossible to do.
Also the fact that it's not proven that they use AI art. The only reason that came up is because the CEO is a person who agrees with the AI direction and stuff like that. But it has not been proven that they used AI to create the pals or anything like that.
Yeah.
Also, I think one of the other discourses come out, as you were saying before, is because there are games that do the genre and take it in a different direction, and people will consider it better. I know a lot of people, and I've mentioned this to you, Snek, and I think Gym Leader Ed also mentioned it to you too, was like Cassette Beasts. It has a typing system and like a combat system that that I think is better than Pokemon. I haven't played it myself yet, but everyone tells me it's a better version of that. And then like the open world of Palmon, how you are fighting with your pals and everything, even though that's not what Pokemon's really about. It's still Pokemon battling. You're not supposed to be fighting with your Pokemon, technically speaking. It's how the open world is and what people are expecting from it, I guess, is what people were hoping that an open world Pokemon game would be, and not what we have gotten, especially with Scarlet and Violet and the game like losing its mind every 10 minutes with something.
Here's the weird thing. I own Scarlet. I played through Scarlet. I've beaten it. I haven't gotten the DLC because honestly it doesn't look like it's worth it to me. But I played through the game and I beat the campaign up to basically where the story would end and the DLC would start. And like apparently Scarlet is way more stable. I did encounter a glitch or two. Like the big thing that would happen a lot is I would enter into a fight and my character would be invisible and you just kind of see a shadow where my character was supposed to be standing. But like that was kind of the worst of it. Now, that said, I'm pretty sure Pal World was made by the same team that did Craftopia, which I did play. And so I'm like, I kind of like open world survival games. It's just, they're a relaxation game for me because I can get away and just build stuff and do neat stuff. So I think Pal World might be something I actually really enjoy. I just haven't picked it up yet. Hasn't been in the fun budget. And I'm curious to see where they take it because it seems like they have a lot of ideas, especially as another Monster Tamer game, Anatons, had kind of a similar concept where like you could use an electric Anaton to power machines in your house kind of concept. I don't really know what's going on with that anymore. Gym Leader Ed and I both helped contribute to the Kickstarter, but as I recall, the Kickstarter failed. So time will tell on that one.
I'm not sure on that one. I haven't heard of that one before. But yeah, no, they have a roadmap that they've been releasing. They said that they're not going to be doing any real patches or any content or any big content or anything currently because they're focusing on quality of life and patching of bugs and everything. And I want to point out as well, as far as like survival or open world survival games, when it comes to bugs and glitches and everything, this game does not this game has a lower end of bugs and glitches that I have seen. There are still funny things like you can when you throw a pal sphere at a pal, the sphere actually becomes solid in the air. You can jump on it while it's jiggling if the pal is not 100%. And when it catches, you'll fly like 100 feet in the air for some reason and come crashing down unless you have a parachute or something, which I thought was really funny. And I've also experienced creatures getting stuck on the floor and stuff like that too. But when it comes to like crashes and, like really, really bad stuff, very little. Very, very little, which is, I'm surprised with these games that there's usually a couple of game breakers like right off the bat, but I've not seen any or seen any real at this point in time.
All right. No, that's a fair assessment, I think, and maybe one of these days I'll get around to doing a first impressions of that. That'd be interesting to see for sure. And let me take you back in time to a distant, faraway year. I believe it was 2002. And I met a particular Pugum, and he and I became fast friends. And along the way, this little thing, this totally legal and needs to be promoted more than it is thing known as common emulation, was entering into the scene. And we were trying out all sorts of different games, trying to see what all was out there, trying to see like some stuff that may not have ever left Japan. And along the way, I discovered this quirky little game known as Demi Kids. So what happens when the Shin Megami Tensei guys decide to take the Pokemon formula and apply it to S&T? Well, you get Demi Kids. This game that very much advertised itself as being like, look, guys, it's like Pokemon. It's lighthearted and fun and whimsical and
middle school children died.
A lot of children die. Oh my god. So much dying.
I mean, it's not like bloody like other Megaton titles, but it's like, yeah, they're like, they just basically, get sapped out of existence and stuff. And it's like, that person's dead. They are very dead.
They are incredibly, incredibly dead.
And so that kind of goes back to something I've been meaning to talk about for a while now. But then we veered off and started talking about Power World and, early access gameplay. But anyways, I think the thing with a lot of people, and this is really unfortunate, is the fact that Pokemon was kind of their very first monster game. They never got to experience early Megaton, especially because early Megaton is really, really wild. And honestly, on one hand, I would have been like it probably would not have, raised a fuss at all. On the other hand, I'm like, this was the 80s. In the literal part, the literal midst of the satanic panic, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you're fighting Satan for the most part. Even in the chaos ending, you're fighting Satan. But, at the same time, I could just imagine it, that, not being good, which is unfortunate. Once again, because the original trilogy of Megaton titles are peak cyberpunk. It is excellent, excellent, awesome stuff. And yet, they're just basically this weird little footnote. Meanwhile, here I am, catching Pokemon bugs. I mean, bugs is what I meant. Like Rhydon. Rhydon is definitely a bug that I am catching. So, it's really unfortunate, especially considering now that the people who made that Witcher game with the boobies that I like, and now made a game about robots, so I can like robots now, as happens. So Cyberpunk has gotten big, but I mean, getting back to Demi Kits though, it is not the best of this series.
No, it's actually like I would go as far as to say it's not really a good game.
No,
it's kind of garbage.
Yeah.
Like, the only way to level up your starter, who by the way you can never get rid of, is to just sacrifice monsters to it. Like, and you don't get anything but a little XP every time you do this. And once you're past like 10, 15 in terms of level, it takes a lot of sacrificing of monsters to do it.
To be perfectly honest, for people who are not familiar with Megaten, when he says sacrifice, basically you're fusing in order to get better demons, the monsters in Megaten. You basically have to fuse two of them together in order to get a third one. Now, this is just a thing that they do. So basically in this instance, you would take your starter, take some rando, fuse them together. You'd just get your rando, but he'd be your starter, but he'd be stronger.
Yeah, but the starter never changes forms. It kind of is, though, because like if I fuse two other monsters together, I will get some different resulting third monster. If you try to fuse the starter, it will just be your boring dog starter, just with slightly more XP. It's like it felt like it was a much bigger waste to power up my starter than it was literally any other monster, and you can't get rid of them. Let me.
To be fair, though, the starters did have some of the most broken skills, like Dark Cross or Holy Star, which could just basically that's all you needed in order to defeat the final boss, which is just Dark Cross, Holy Star, Dark Cross, Holy Star. And what does this do? It hits the enemy 16 times.
Yep. I
don't know why 16, but it does. It hits them 16 times for really, really big damage. And that's all you need to do. Another thing I really liked was the fact that you could actually use your demons to negotiate with other demons, and which is how you get them in Megaten titles. Which honestly kind of threw me for a loop when I was playing Strange Journey, which was the next game, which let me tell you, that was whiplash. Oh boy, this is one of those Megaten titles that I hear about. Okay, guys, we're all Marines. Okay, this is very different. We're going to Antarctica. Wait, what? Strange Journey is really good, but it is, yeah.
It is a bit on the unforgiving side.
Which is why you need to Snek play it.
Isn't most Megaten games like that, though? Are they all pretty challenging in their own degree?
Generally, the answer is yes.
Yes.
I remember playing one on the DS. I don't remember the name of it. And I remember playing it. I remember having a hard time going through even some of the beginning levels just because I felt like if you didn't play or understand the mechanics, at least in such a way, you're pretty much just handicapping yourself and just torturing yourself for for pretty much the entire game.
If it helps put it in context, it might help you to know that there is a difficulty select in SMT4. The way you unlock easy mode is to die and game over 3 or 4 times and let the game make fun of you. And they'll be like, here, idiot, here's easy mode just for you. That's literally how you get easy mode.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Chiron, the ferryman to the dead, is like, I'll just give you easy mode now. So...
Yep.
Get out of here. I'm tired of you mortals. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done with you stupid mortals. Do that on my site.
Honestly, but after you get out of the Naraka ruins,
it's really not even as hard. Like it is, this is ridiculous difficulty curve. It's like an upside down L. Like once you get past the very first dungeon of the game, it's really pretty even keeled the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, there are some boss fights. Let me tell you, like I was basically completely fine up until the point where I encountered. There was this recurring like mini subquest where you had to, the king of the kingdom that you start out in.
Yeah.
Because of what I did, basically there was a revolution in the kingdom, and basically the king was ousted, and the theocracy was set up because I was running law because this was 4 and neutrality was not an option.
Yep.
So here I am, the warrior of light, holy, soldier of God. And this guy shows up and he's like, I would wanted to fight you. And it's the king. And so I'm like, whatever. He's just a human. At which point I kill him. I cut off his head. At which point his body, hops back up and starts laughing at me because like, you killed the person. It's a shame because, he was just like you, just pitiful pawns. And so it turns out that he sold his soul to Beelzebub in order to get revenge at me. And I have to fight Beelzebub. And the problem with Beelzebub is that the problem with Beelzebub is that basically he had a sickness breath attack. And the problem with sickness is basically it just tanks your stats. It's kind of akin to in Mother, when you have the Gabalons,
the
monsters that suck their moisture and it just causes their stats to like go to the base minimum. Basically, that's what would happen. So I actually had to go. I got completely wiped by this guy. So I had to go and I was like, okay, what monsters, what demons are there that are actually good, will actually resist this sickness? Turns out there's not that many, but you know which one does?
Which one?
Is actually immune? Demon King Mara. It's immune.
Of course she is. Of course Mara's immune. Oh, if you know, you know. If you don't, I'm not explaining it.
No, I'm not going to explain it either. But, yeah. So I actually had to get Mara on my team, and I had her, and I'm like, I feel uncomfortable about this. And she's like, nah, man, it's cool. But and the worst part is Mara is so high level, I actually had to go out of not only did I have to go out of my way to find Mara, because you had to beat her in order to be able to fuse her,
right?
Which is not unusual. But on top of that, then I had to actually get to the level to be able to fuse her because she's like level 95 and I was like level 80 at that point. So I was like, okay, part of it was I was really low level for what I was supposed to be. On the other hand, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to level grind another 15 levels in order to actually get to the point where I can fuse the demon I need in order to actually fight the other demon. But at this point, I felt committed. So I think I just ground in Infernal Tokyo just because I thought it was funny to, go to Chaos Tokyo and just kill demons there. But yeah. Basically, I guess my point is it's not so much the hockey stick shape. It's more of like a hockey stick, and then you have the occasional like W.
Yeah.
So, and I admit, I probably could have. I think I could have just ignored it. I don't think I had to kill Beelzebub in order to finish the story, but at that point, I felt like I had to. That was just one of those things of, the enemy is there. The enemy has mocked me. I need to defeat this enemy.
Yeah, no, there's that instance where it's like this is a matter of pride now, and not walking away now that we're here.
Exactly.
Now, you know what? I just remembered, like, the thing that I don't like in monster games is when you are forced to use a particular creature. And the games that did this, and it annoyed me so much, was Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2. Because you are forced to have the Rathalos with you. It's plot mandatory that you have the Rathalos with you. Now, here's the thing. Rathalos is a fine monster, but then they nerfed the crap out of it in Stories 2. It is so much weaker than the monsters that you can get around the area where you would like get a Rathalos. The story Rathalos is terrible, and there's not a great deal you can do.
Oh man, I hate it when games do that to you. I hate it when they are like they shackle you to this one particular. And I mean, not even like a particular monster, but like a particular character.
Yeah.
And like, man, Final Fantasy VI did this. Although, I mean, to be perfectly honest, at least with some of the characters, that they had like healing and stuff, so it wasn't like a total loss.
You could do something with them.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate that. I hate it so much, and it just ruins all of your team synergy too.
Yeah, because you have a good thing going, and then it's just, oh well, we're gonna force it. We're gonna wedge this square shaped block into this round hole that you have here, and I'm like, please don't. And they're like, nope, this is happening whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I tried to like Stories 1. I never got Stories 2. I keep getting
2 is way better overall. 2 is much better, much less grindy. 1 was a lot more experimental, and the Rathalos they gave you was honestly just better. But Stories 2 was overall the better game. But yeah, that's both games do it. You are forced to have the story Rathalos, and it's just I don't want the story Rathalos.
I want my Fatalis.
You can't get Elder Dragons, but I mean, I understand the sentiment. Yeah, as far as I know, there's no Elder Dragons you can get.
You mean I can't have a Gora Magala? At which point I'm like, just feed him, feed him stuff until he is like evolves into a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, no, that's a weird thing because like monsters that are the immature form of other monsters stay that form forever. So if you get like a Basarios, it never becomes a Gravios. It just stays a Basarios, and they're treated like they're two different species.
That's weird.
Mm. No, it is. And let's sidestep here and talk about a franchise that's generally good. It was Digimon. Now, I've talked about Digimon a number of times, and for good reason. There's a lot to talk about.
I don't think anyone in your audience likes Digimon. I don't get that. I don't get that sense.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. Definitely no Digimon fans in the Snek subscriber count.
Nope.
Definitely not. So, the games I like the most are the Digimon Story series. And one game that I have put way more hours into than I am openly proud to admit was Digimon Dawn. That game is so grindy. It's grindy to the point of stupid. But I love the game so much, even though most Digimon stories are not complicated, interest of fairness. But, like, I enjoy them. I enjoy them, It's
the ability to actually be a lot more tactical and kind of focused in your raising of Digimon.
Yeah.
Whereas I like the life sim, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them just seem to be kind of fall back on the old, very artificial, like, oh, well, you know, this is what you did. And then some, you know, like, they'll throw the dice and the RNG for some variable that you can't account for will be like, oh, well, you were trying to get, you know, super cool mon. Well, you get suck mon instead. And you're going to have to deal with it.
Did you want a good Digimon? Too bad. Here's Monochromon. Hope he doesn't eat you out of house and home. Not that I'm salty or anything.
I'm sorry there, Professor. I just pooed myself. Oh, no, Monochromon.
Hate. Okay, story time. Growing up, I had the first Digimon World on my PS1. And the thing is, it was Digimon, so I wanted to like it, even though the game plays like a really sadistic grindcore RPG. I still played it. I wanted to get good at it. And there were so many instances. I would get Agumon, and I would follow a guide online. Okay, I'm going to follow this guide. I'm going to get exactly the Digimon I want. And this happened to me more than once. But, like, for example, I'd go like, okay, I'm going to go for Greymon. So you know what has really, really similar stats to Greymon? Tyrannomon and Monochromon. Now, you know the whole feeding the Digimon in that game was actually random and not a hunger counter that ticked down over time? This resulted in Agumon who's like, hey, I'm hungry all the time, feed me. So his weight went really high. Well, guess what? The determination the game uses between Greymon and Monochromon with identical stats is weight. So if he's overweight, he becomes Monochromon. I got Monochromon so many times purely because of RNG. I went a little crazy. I hate Monochromon because of this. Well, he's a fine design. Like, he's kind of a cool-looking Digimon. But, like, I hate Monochromon. And to this day, I will never, ever raise a Monochromon.
That's, yeah, I get it. I get it. There are certain Pokemon I won't ever raise for things like that. I'm not really a big Gardevoir person. I tried to like them, and they're perfectly fine, but
yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned Digimon World, because I remember the only two Digimon World games, Digimon games I played was World 2 and 3.
Those are very different games, though. Like,
very, very
2
different.
was like a dungeon crawler, and 3 was more of like a traditional RPG. So it's like really, really weird series of games.
Mm-hmm.
I would say yes. Like, the main thing that was crazy with 2 was is because you're going through you're dungeon crawling through all the dungeons, and you're slowly trying to build up your mech. I don't know if it's a mech or what do you call it?
It's like a weird drill tank thing. Yeah.
And you're trying to, and I remember the one thing I always try to level up was the trap destroyers, because some of those traps got like super powerful, or like some of the walls they wanted you to break. I'm like, I want to see what's beyond these. There's got to be something cool, right? I don't remember if
it almost never is. I don't know if it was RNG or if that was just how the game was designed, but there almost never was.
I don't remember if it was like if I like had found a guide or something for it, but I remember like I could never like why do I always have one Digimon? Like, how do I get more? And I had to just figure out on my own. Or I found like a guide or something, like how to get more Digimon on your team, and
yeah.
Oh, it was just a giant hassle. It was fun though for what it was. 3 I thought was really cool because I liked the premise a lot.
Of the original trilogy of Digimon World games, 3 was up and away the best one.
Yeah.
Like, I will say that's my little Sneky opinion. You are free to disagree with me in the comments. That's just how I feel on it.
Now, no, honestly, the ones with what's his face, Rio, those were even better.
No one played the Wonder Swan game. Stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Now, you know
What about Millennium On?
No, what about Millennium On? No, you know the thing, the game that drove us to near insanity. Okay, here's the thing. Digimon World 4. Okay.
Oh, there's a fourth?
There was a fourth that came out way after the first three. It was a GameCube, PS2, and Xbox game, I believe. And Tutaku and I went to a used movie/game trading shop. And we were looking around, and I stumbled upon a very cheap box copy of Digimon World 4. I had tried emulating it, but it doesn't handle very well. It was basically unplayable. I'm like, hey, look, legit copy. This is our opportunity to finally check this game out. And Taku was like, yeah, this looks cool. It's like Gauntlet with Digimon.
Vmon, Guilmon, Agumon.
It's literally Gauntlet. I'm looking at a picture of it right now. It's literally just a bunch of Digimon with various hand weapons, swords, a machete, an axe.
Because it's a clone. It's a clone of Gauntlet. It's a clone of Gauntlet. And we're like, you know what? Maybe this could be fun. Because you know what? Gauntlet was a fun game, and it has a bunch of Digimon that we like. My favorite is Gallantmon, and Ditaku's favorite is X-Vidramon. So it's like, this is perfect. We have Vmon and Guilmon right here. This is easy. So we fire up the game, and I believe it was a weekend, because I remember we were up like all night marathoning through this game, and we're like, oh look, we get to Digivolve, and we get like our champion states. No, that's really cool. It's like, oh hey, I bet if we go further into the game, we'll get our ultimate level too. You don't, by the way. you don't get your ultimate. You literally can only go as far as your champion level form. And you're stuck because the entire game is just a bad Gauntlet clone. And you know the worst part? The game commands unreal prices online. The game was apparently not made in particularly great quantities, so it's considered a rare game. People will pay huge sums of money for an aggressively mediocre Gauntlet clone.
Which is really unfortunate because the story that I remember was actually kind of intriguing.
Yeah, it was.
Entire, like you were, you were trying to rescue other Digimon from this, like the Yggdrasil virus.
Yeah, like things were falling apart, and like so each level was like a mission you were being given by this command center, and they're like, yeah, go out there and beat up the bad Digimon, and we'll rescue everyone, and things are going to be great. And we're like, okay, I'm going to play as Guilmon, your doctor's going to play Vmon, this is going to be great. And like 10 or 12 hours later, we were like, this kind of sucks, doesn't it?
I'm going to say this though. I don't remember if it was what game it was. Was it Redivide? The one, the Life Sim one that you...
the recent Life Sim one? That was Next Order.
Well, okay, because it might have been, maybe, but I remember you had a Guilmon that you evolved into, I want to say, you actually got him to Chaos Gallantmon. Then you had an Ophanimon, and you also had the Chaos Sakuyamon.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that you had Ophanimon because Ophanimon, she was our chief the entire time. And I just remember that you were going through this dungeon and you had Ophanimon, and the entire time Ophanimon was like, I need to use the bathroom. I need to use the bathroom. I need to use the bathroom. And so the entire time I saw the chief, I'm like, I wonder if she still needs to use the bathroom.
It was Angelwomon. We had Angelwomon because Megas don't use the bathroom. But yeah, I had Angelwomon, and like the bathroom thing kept prompting, and I was like, I'm working on it. Can you please? But then like the story kept queuing, and people were talking to us, and I'm like, my Digimon has to use the bathroom. Can you please get out of our way? It was Angelwomon, and we were working towards getting Ophanimon. Yeah, but Mega levels don't use the bathroom anymore for some reason.
Yeah, I wonder if she ever did get to the bathroom in time. I hope so.
I don't remember. I don't have my PS4 anymore, so when I do pick up that game again, it's going to be a fresh save, so I have no idea. Maybe to this day, she's still waiting for me to come back, and oh god, now that just made me really super sad. That was terrible. I was supposed to be a joke, and that was actually kind of heart wrenching.
Wow. I don't know how to feel about this.
She's still holding it now, 5 years later. I'm sorry, Angel Woman. Not my fault. Interest of fairness, I used another Angel Woman in my Cyber Sleuth Let's Play, and Mastamon was really good. You have to work to get her, but she was really, really strong once I did.
Yeah, honestly, I just kind of did that on a lark. I'm like, I did not expect this to, her to be something that you could get. And honestly, she seemed acquirable like way earlier than I thought.
Yeah. We were actually under the impression initially that you would have to actually battle Mirei's Mastamon before you could Digivolve, but no, you don't. You can get her well before that if you grind enough. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love monster games. I remember Taco was watching me play Monster Sanctuary, and we were getting started for the first time, and we were like, we have to take the frog. The frog starter is the best starter. So,
Frog for Carol Blaster.
Man, there's so many good. If you guys want a really good dedicated channel for monster games, my buddy Gym Leader Ed has great content every single day. I love his stuff, and he has been a gateway drug for me for many, many of these games that I've gotten addicted to.
Also, there's this guy named Hipster Snek.
I do love monster games, but it's not the primary focus of my channel. But I do love, like, there is this indie monster game boom, and I am so about that life. One of the ones I'm looking forward to is Poglings, and it's basically like fans have been demanding Sega re-add the Chow Garden to Sonic the Hedgehog games since Sonic Adventure 2. And the consistent answer is, oh, well, we're not going to do that. So this group was just like, okay, we'll just make our own Chow Garden, and that will be the whole game. And I'm like, yes, please.
You know what it probably was?
What's that?
Considering that the Chows were effectively the dream creatures from Nights into Dreams.
Oh, yeah, the dream people.
It was all the work of like one autistic Sonic team member, and he is like long since left the team, and they're like, we were going to have to like unpack this guy's like weird Gizmo wizard notes in order to like try and figure out how to do Chow logic.
As I understand it, it was like two people. I think they're still with the company, but like the director said something when Sonic Frontiers was coming out. They asked him, they're like, what is like the one feature that fans want in every Sonic game? And he's like, oh, the Chow Garden. And they were like, oh, is Sonic Frontiers going to have a Chow Garden? And he's like, no. And so they were like, okay, well, why not? And he's like, oh, well, it was supposed to be like a tutorial area to teach the player how to play the game. And I'm like, no. Literally nothing about the Chow Gardens in Sonic Adventure 1 or 2 behave as a tutorial zone. Like, they have their own mechanics and their own gameplay loop. Like, nothing you just said made any sense whatsoever.
I mean, it might have started out like that, but it was not. It's like its own little... It's basically like a whole different game on top of the same game.
So I'm really pumped for Poglings. I did back the Kickstarter, so really excited for it, and I will definitely do a first impression when that game goes live. So that'll be fun. I love life sim games, in case I haven't made that clear. What with me starting my channel with Monster Rancher.
And yet you still haven't done Seaman.
Seaman is shockingly difficult to play on modern hardware. If you know what I mean. My Dreamcast is not up to the task in certain respects. Let's go with that.
Need to get Izume on that.
Yeah, I do. Now, this episode's not going out for a few weeks. I guess we can talk about the project from today, if you think that's as good timing to talk about.
No, I think so. I think it would be cool to talk about.
Okay. I was going to say, before you jump into that, I want to
Sure.
say I do hope that this boom in monster taming and monster catching does get hopefully Game Freak or whoever makes the next Pokemon to be like, hey, maybe we should try to actually do something else that maybe make some changes and try to improve stuff a little bit instead of turning out the same thing every.
You know what? It's a tale of two dev teams, and let me tell you a story, because I just picked up Super Mario Wonder. It's really good. It feels like a ton of ideas were really, really fleshed out. And I'm not even that far in, and I'm really impressed. It feels like such a leap above recent 2D, 2.5D Mario titles have been. It's such a huge improvement. And one of the things they talked about from the game devs, they were like, we did not have a time limit. They're like, you guys are going to polish the stone till it shines. We're not going to rush a release date. It's done when it's done. We're going to keep working on it. We're going to keep refining it. But there's not going to be a hard, it has to be out at this particular date and time when development first started. As opposed to Pokemon, that has been churning out games annually to the point where a recent tweet hinted at Unova Gen 5 remakes. And the general response on Twitter was, cancel it, you'll just screw it up. I read to the comment section, and like every single comment was just like, no, just stop. You don't have what it takes to make it good, and we loved Gen 5. And I'm like, oof.
Gen 5, I would argue, is honestly they're my favorite generation. It's really the high point, and people are going to argue about like secret abilities and the meta was awful. It's like, okay, first off, yes, secret abilities were kind of trash, but at the same time, you didn't have to play through them with secret abilities. And secondly, if you're playing competitive Pokemon,
I'm sorry for you.
You need to play this game called Go Outside. I know it's new and revolutionary, but it's free to play and readily available.
It's free to play, and the first 18 levels are on easy mode.
It's free.
So it's free to play up until you have to start paying bills, in which case you hit the paywall.
Yeah.
No, it's like the Mario Wonder is an example of what a good team can do when they are free to make a finished game. And Pokemon Sandwich Edition is what happens when you have a gun pointed to your head and say your job rides on this game getting out on the arbitrary deadline that we have set for you.
I don't know. At the same time, though, I can definitely see that there's been flaws in the way Game Freak has done things pretty much since the beginning.
Oh no, definitely. You are correct about that.
The quite famous thing about the fact that Satoru Iwata basically had to completely rewrite Gen 2, and that's where we actually got the entire like Kanto Jodo thing, due to the fact that he was able to like compartmentalize data better, and so they were able to add more stuff.
Yeah,
but I mean,
Game Freak is also one of those companies that has not adapted well to advancing hardware. I saw a breakdown of Sun and Moon, and they're like, a normal game dev would have a situation where they have a character and all its associated graphics, and then whenever that character was needed, it would load the character into the scene. But they didn't do that. Like, Lily appears in each scene, like, locked into each scene. It's not that the game is calling up Lily's data. They just have thousands and thousands of copies. Well, maybe not thousands, but you get my point. Dozens and dozens of copies of Lily in the game because they're doing this really slapdash job. Now, mind you, given the yearly release schedule that they've been forced to abide by, they may not have a choice in the matter. But
I don't know. That strikes me that there's more fundamental issues, like their programmers don't exactly know, what they're doing. Like, even as someone who only knows cursory example, I'm like, it would be far more simple and far more cost effective in order, to just basically have, and there were only like 4 different models of Lily in the entire game.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of have those 4 models, bring them up, and have them do whatever they need to do just out of like a single, character matrices or whatever.
Yeah.
Rather than just, here is Lily for on the beach, Lily for at the Pokemon gym, Lily for in the disaster with, Team Goofball, so on and so forth.
That's a good nickname for Team Skull, honestly.
Yeah, they weren't exactly threatening.
But it also seemed like that was kind of the point, where like Skull was largely misunderstood and Aether was really supposed to be the shady ones.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about as close to a plot twist as a Pokemon game has ever yet had. Now, shifting gears, first off, I guess I owe the Monster Rancher Discord a little bit of an apology, because I might have gotten some hopes up. Because I talked in brief and even tweeted about it, about like, hey, how would you guys feel about a tabletop book themed on Monster Rancher? And generally it got a warm reception. Maybe not overwhelming, but there was generally like, oh yeah, that'd be really neat. Well, Dutaku and I were hashing it out, and kind of we realized that I don't have the license for Monster Rancher, and Japanese companies tend to be a little litigious when it comes to their IPs, and I'm not rich enough to lawyer up or try to make a statement that I should have a mechanical license to operate under the franchise. And as much as I want more Monster Rancher, that's largely going to hinge on the success of the DX bundle and Ultra Kaiju Monster Rancher. That being said, we decided to take the project in a bit of a different direction, but one that we're really, really pleased with. It doesn't have a name yet. It only has a working title. And we decided, hey, what if we had a themed monster-raising tabletop RPG specifically set in the Wild West? So we got to work and started researching myths and legends of the region of the time and trying to find some really cool ideas. And I'm pretty pleased with what we have so far. Nothing concrete. I don't have like details for how the system is going to work in full execution. That'll come at a future date. But we do have this Wild West theme, because we were talking about it earlier. It's like if you're playing a monster raising game, it's either Middle Ages with magic, or you have modern day but X. Like, none of them have been Wild West themed. And I'm like, well...
And on top of that, there's not that many Wild West themed tabletop games in general.
Also that.
I mean, just in general, anyway.
Yep.
So
this is kind of our opportunity. And the concept we're working with is, you're a monster tamer in the setting. The whole idea is there's guns. People have guns like they did in the 1800s. So the whole idea is your monsters are beefier than you. But the fastest way to kill the snake, so to speak, is to take off the head. So people are going to naturally try to target the human rather than the monster. So you have to, position yourself in a way where you can give orders and be an active participant without easily getting sniped off the back of your monster. And you guys would not believe some of the weird stuff we found while researching myths and legends from like the United States, Canada, Mexico kind of region. There's some weird stuff, and I think of all the ones that I discovered, the one that I kind of fell in love with was the Hodag. I think that's how you say it. It's this weird frog, goat, dinosaur creature. And it's just kind of amazing. He looks so silly.
He is awesome. Snek mentioned it to me. I looked him up and I'm like, oh my god, he's like a monster Wojak. He's like, I just, need him, and then, below him is like, feels bad, man.
That's how it is. I'm like, that is so weird and specific. And this, I have to do something. Hodag is in, guaranteed, no exceptions. But we have a lot of weird myths in this region of the world. I mean, you have some of your standard, you have like your Bigfoots, you have your jackalopes, you have thunderbirds, you have kind of the more universally understood monsters like mermaids and ghosts. Then you start getting into the really, really specific stuff. Like, there's the Flatwoods monster, which is one of many kinds of Owlman creatures. And then there's the Tommy Knocker, which is this weird imp creature that would go into mine shafts, and they would, like, preemptively warn miners of cave-ins and gas leaks and stuff by knocking on the walls. Like, that's their entire thing. And it's like, oh, what about, like, little green men and, like, gray Roswell aliens? And I'm like, that is decidedly Americana monsters, so like that's going to be something we do something with. Oh, and the one that got me, I could not escape: flying disembodied heads. It wasn't just one random section of the country where this obscure myth. It was everywhere. There's like tons of these different tribes and peoples had completely different myths about the same creature. It was almost as universal as dragons are across human culture. Like, they just, there's a head with bat wings, and it just flies around and harasses people. That was probably the weirdest of them. I think one of the most unexpected was one whose name literally translates as sharp elbows. And it's kind of like the Native American equivalent of the Nuckalavi. Like this weird, angry creature with like blades of bone coming out of its mid-arm. And it just like kills people for fun. Like it doesn't even eat them or anything. It just kills for its own sake. And I'm like, I don't think I want my players having that monster, but it's definitely going in the book somehow.
Just have it be a boss encounter.
Yeah, something like that. And then
give it like player stats, but give it like,
a boss stat out. Yeah. And then like some of the things are just stuff that someone at some point either saw or thought they saw, and that was entirely the myth. Like there's a thing called the cactus cat. And the cactus cat, get this, is a mid-sized cat that eats cactus. That's the entire myth. It didn't really do anything but eat cactus. And then there was the Beast of Busco, which in the entire myth is, it's a really big turtle. Did the turtle do anything? No, but it was really big.
You see there, that's where you're wrong there, Professor. You see, the cactus cat is eating cactuses in order to grow stronger, because then the Beast of Busco and the cactus cat fight, because cats and turtles are natural enemies.
That's true. That could very well be the case. The cactus cat and the Beast of Busco are some kind of legendary rivalry at stake here.
Yes.
Now,
and if you get it, you get it.
Yeah, we're not explaining it. Not explaining it. No, but like, there are some really cool legends, and there are some really weird ones. And I'm going to do my best to kind of pull the best stuff I can find. And some stuff's probably going to get smashed together. There's like a lot of Owlman monsters, like a lot.
Owls are cool.
No, they are. I agree. And it will eventually enter into a playable state sometime in the future. And when that time comes, you, dear listeners, will get the chance to play test it for yourselves and see how you're enjoying it. And your feedback will help me shape the game as it goes along. Now, mind you, this is not my number one priority. It is a priority, but I have a lot of projects in the channel and everything else. But this is something we're going to work on as we move into the future and make it kind of our own kind of interesting spin on the Monster Tamer genre. Mm-hmm. So we're really excited for it.
And as a final aside, because we're kind of winding down, I gotta say to our boy Ed Boy, I get you, man. I feel you. I understand where you're coming from with your entire like Mon Razor thing, but I'm not going to be there with you. I'm not going to die on that hill. That is entire like the Mon Razor versus creature collector thing, and you're like that. That's where you're getting your burr up your craw. I'm like, I'm sorry. I mean, to me, it's the same thing. I'm sorry. I can't die on that hill with you.
I get the delineation because like all critter collectors are monster games, but not all monster games are critter collectors. So like I get it because like Monster Rancher, you're not collecting monsters, you're raising them, and you're dedicating all your time to one creature at a time, unless you're playing Monster Rancher 4.
Yeah, but that's just like you're just splitting hairs at that point, honestly.
It's a bit semantic, but for things like Steam tags, I think there should be kind of a divide. Just like the whole thing kind of reminds me of how like for years after the fact, all games that were first-person shooters as we know them now were called Doom clones. And there's this weird movement where like, it must be a Pokemon clone because Pokemon's the first game I know in the subgenre. And I'm like...
now they're called boomer shooters. That entire genres are called boomer shooters now, yeah.
It's like... words mean things in the simplest summation. There's a lot of idiots on Twitter who don't seem to get that.
Also, yeah, I agree. Which is why my Twitter is nothing but cute cat accounts, artists I like, and gotcha games.
Yep. So, as it should be.
So, I'm excited. I think it's a cool idea. I felt kind of bad because I was kind of the one to bring up. I'm like, Professor, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's really cool that you're trying to do this, but I don't think it's going to end well. And you're like,
that is a fair point.
But how can we do other? At which point, then Brownie slides in with, but why not Pow World?
And now it has all come full circle.
Yes.
All right, so let's get the final thoughts. Master Ditaku?
Digimon is underrated, and also Vmon is cute.
That is true facts. Master Clockwork.
The last thing I wanted to say, because I never got to say it, is that I never got the training dojo aspect in Digimon World 3. I know it was there, and I usually just trained
I forgot about that.
And I just trained my Digimon in some way I thought would make them more powerful, but I don't know if I was doing it right the entire time or not, to be perfectly honest. I just ended up over grinding to get through most of it.
I completely forgot that was even like an element in the game. Every monster game is different, and that is a good thing. And I want to see people keep doing cool and interesting things with it. It's exciting. It is exciting to have all this new stuff coming out and the whole indie game boom. It's great for me in particular because I've always been a big proponent for indie games. So you guys at home, just you keep doing your thing, man.
Perhaps the real monsters were the friends we made along the way.
The irony. Now, this has been the Hipster Snek, and thank you for joining us for another awesome and fun episode of the Tomodachi Bros podcast. We always appreciate when you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because you totally should in every video. And that makes us super happy when you do that. So now that the mandatory shilling has been accounted for, we will see you guys in the next one.
Tomovolution Warp Tomovise.
We'll workshop it.
Thank you for listening to the Tomodachi Brothers Review Podcast, produced and recorded by the Hipster Snek, Daitaku, and Cog. Sound design and editing by executive producer Sean Taylor Brown with Cog Sound Engineering. Music written and performed by Sean Taylor Brown with Costas Voss of Core Insight Studio on the drums. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.